In ancient times, there lived a wise man named Arius in the heart of a beautiful mountain valley. He wore simple clothes and did not build grand temples. His home was quiet, and his books were nature. People from far and wide came to seek his advice. Arius rarely spoke, but when he did, his words were like a blessing. One morning, as the sun began to shine on the mountains, Arius walked along a path to a stream. The air was cool and filled with the scent of herbs. Everything seemed peaceful, like nature itself was breathing in time with his steps. Then, he heard a faint squeak. Turning, he saw a snake trapped in a hole. Its body was covered in dust and scars, but its eyes were bright and intelligent. It was a rare mountain cobra that the locals feared. She was considered a harbinger of disaster, the embodiment of deception and sudden death. Arius looked at her for a long time. He knew that snakes are treacherous creatures who don't sting out of hatred, but by their nature. Their bites are not acts of revenge, but instinctual. Still, he felt a surge of compassion for her. He saw in front of him not just an animal, but a creature who was trapped, no matter how scared she was by her reputation. He took a stick, carefully opened the cage, and released her, watching her every move as if saying goodbye in advance. She didn't move for a long time. Then she seemed to realize she was free to crawl towards him. She appeared grateful, wrapping herself around his arm, not menacingly, but calmly. Arius brought her to his home, treated her wounds, gave her food and water. As the days passed, people were surprised. "Why do you keep a snake?" they asked. "What is she?" "She's just a pet," he replied. "She can kill," Arius replied. "Not every snake is venomous, and not every poison kills. Some poisons are just tests for the heart." But one day, early in the morning, something happened that they had been waiting for, but were afraid to speak about. The sage was sitting by the stream when the snake, the one he had rescued, crept up behind him and bit him on the neck. The poison acted quickly. He felt his entire body stiffen, but he did not scream. He simply looked at the snake and, to the surprise of those gathered, said, "I knew this would happen." "Why did you save it?" the young man cried out. "I always came to you for guidance. Why give it a chance?" The sage smiled slightly. "I wanted to give it a choice. I rescued it because I am human, and it bit me because it is a snake." His voice grew quieter. "Make no mistake. Forgiveness is a virtue. But forgiveness for those who hurt you every time you show kindness is no longer a virtue. It is foolishness." He fell silent and died a few moments later. But the story did not end there. Rumors of the sage's death spread like wildfire around the world. People were angry. They caught the snake, wanting to burn it and tear it apart. Anger was boiling over in everyone's hearts. After all, the sage had been kind to them. He had given them a chance, but they repaid him with death. But the village elder, a wise old man with gray hair and eyes that reflected his many years of wisdom, raised his hand to stop them. "Let her be," he said calmly. "The sage has already paid the ultimate price, but he left us with his teachings. His death was not a defeat, it was a lesson." "But she's dangerous," people shouted. "Yes," the elder replied. "That's exactly the point. The sage that didn't try to change her. He showed us that being kind without trying to heal is not a virtue. It's an invitation for trouble. He sacrificed himself not just for her, but for all of us. So let her go." And since then, people in the neighborhood have said, if you encounter a snake, do not be in a hurry to be kind. Sometimes, a snake is not just a symbol, but a warning. Not everyone seeks forgiveness to start anew. Some seek forgiveness in order to inflict even more pain. It has been many years since the incident. The boy who was bitten grew up and became wise and respectable. His name was Nidar, and he lived just like Arius did once. But his heart was not just kind, it was also determined. He understood that compassion does not always lead to salvation. One day, a stranger came to the village. a charmer with smooth words and empty eyes, asking to enter Nadar's house. He said he was tired and needed help. Nadar watched him in silence. "Why do you not speak?" the traveler asked. "Don't you believe in mercy?" asked Nadar. "I do believe in mercy," he replied, "but I also remember a snake." "What snake?" the traveler asked, wondering about the one that had been saved but later bit him. The traveler paled as he realized his words had not worked. In front of him was someone who understood that forgiveness is not an obligation, but a right. Some people don't deserve even a single chance because they use every opportunity to make things worse. Sometimes it seems that being kind means forgiving, but there is a fine line between forgiving and being taken advantage of. Some people who have been forgiven take up the knife again, not to defend themselves but to strike out again. They justify every blow, and they don't need forgiveness. They need access to get closer and sting again. The parable of the snake is not just a story, it's a warning. It reminds us to be careful and not to trust those who have hurt us. It shows that not everyone who is forgiven is capable of change. Some people may change their behavior, but they don't really change their core values. Some people learn to hit harder the next time, rather than learn from their mistakes. Sometimes it's important to stop and ask ourselves the question, am I really holding a snake in my hand and hoping it will turn into a dove? We should not forgive those who don't regret their actions or who continue to do wrong. They may be sorry for getting caught, but their true feelings are not remorse or regret, but fear. We should not forgive people who repeat their mistakes under the guise of mistakes, covering up their conscious cruelty with sweet words. We also shouldn't forgive those who pretend to be kind in order to get close to us and then hurt us when we're vulnerable again. These people don't truly change, they just hide. Forgiveness should be a healing process, not a way to forgive ourselves for letting others hurt us. It should never be used as a shield against further harm from the same person, because every time you forgive a snake, you give up a chance to be alive, to be careful, and to be whole. Sometimes forgiveness is an act of love towards another. However, sometimes it is a betrayal of oneself. In such moments, it is wise not to forgive, but to close the door permanently. Sage Ari did not die with hate in his heart. He left with understanding. He did not curse the snake, but simply called it what it was. He did not seek revenge, but abandoned it. His silence spoke louder than words, and his forgiveness was not weakness, but a choice made once and for all. He did not fight the nature of evil. He simply refused to feed it. His last words became a message: goodbye when forgiveness heals. But never forgive those who use your kindness as an excuse to attack. A snake may be beautiful, with shining scales and a voice like music, and its touch may seem affectionate. But if it stings again, it is not an accident. It is its nature. And they don't argue with nature, they simply leave it be. Sometimes the wisest course of action is not to try and save something, but to let it go, in order to preserve not only life, but also our dignity. If these words resonate with you, please subscribe to the Wisdom of Thought channel. They talk about the most important things here. It's quiet, sure, but meaningful.